Part 5. The Long Road. Home Ji-won stood at the window of the medical bay and stared at the stars. She had been rescued 3 days ago, but it still felt like a dream. Part of her kept expecting to wake up in a Velcron cage. "You should be resting," said a voice behind her. She turned to see Captain Hyun-woo approaching. He looked better now. The medical staff had treated his injuries and given him proper food. Color was returning to his face. "I can't sleep," Ji-won admitted. "Every time I close my eyes, I'm back on that station." "I know. I feel it too." The captain stood beside her. "But we're safe now. We're with our people. Our people." Ji-won repeated the words slowly. "I didn't know we had people anymore. I thought we were alone. So did I, but we were wrong. Humanity survived. We just did it in secret." The door opened and Major Subin entered. Her shoulder was still bandaged, but she moved with the confidence of a professional soldier. "Captain Hyun-woo, Ji-won, the Admiral wants to see you, if you're feeling well enough." They followed her through the corridors of the Soul's Fury. The ship was enormous, bigger than anything Hyun-woo had ever captained. Crew members moved efficiently, performing their duties. Some stopped to stare at the rescued captives with expressions of wonder and relief. "They're looking at us like we're heroes," Ji-won whispered. "You are heroes," Subin said. "You survived. You sent the signal that brought us back into the galaxy. That means something." They reached the command center. Admiral Tae-yang stood before a massive holographic display, showing star systems and fleet positions. He turned when they entered. "Captain Hyun-woo, Ji-won, thank you for coming. Please sit." They sat at a conference table. The Admiral joined them along with Subin and several other officers. "First, I want to say welcome home. I know this must be overwhelming. You have questions. I'll answer what I can." "Where are we going?" Hyun-woo asked. "A place we call Haven. It's our base hidden in the outer dark. 20,000 humans live there. It's been our sanctuary for 20 years. 20,000? Ji-won couldn't believe it. "That's more than I thought existed anywhere. We've been searching for survivors since the fall of Earth. Finding them. Bringing them in. You're not the first we've rescued. But you might be the most important." "Why?" Hyun-woo asked. Admiral Tae-yang brought up a star map. Red dots marked dozens of locations across Velcran space. "Because your signal did more than call us to save you. It made us realize something. If there were humans on that auction station, there are probably humans on other stations. We've been investigating. These red marks are confirmed or suspected locations where humans are being held as captives." Hyun-woo stared at the map. There were so many dots. "Hundreds of them. How many people?" he asked quietly. "We estimate between 500 and 2,000 humans in Velcran hands. Some are captives like you were. Others are workers on mining stations. Some are research subjects. We don't know exact numbers, but we know they're out there." Ji-won felt tears in her eyes. 2,000 people, all waiting for rescue. Yes, and now the Velcrons know we're coming. They know we're organized and willing to fight. They'll increase security on their stations. They'll guard the captives more carefully. Every rescue will be harder than the last one. "But you're going to try anyway," Hyun-woo said. "It wasn't a question, we are. Because that's what humanity does. We don't abandon our people." The Admiral stood and walked to the window. Outside, other ships of the remnant fleet moved in formation. "The galaxy is changing. For 20 years we've been hiding. The other species thought humanity was extinct or scattered beyond recovery. They forgot about us. But now they're remembering. And they're afraid." "Afraid of us?" Subin asked. "Yes, because we did something no other species would do. We attacked a major Velcron facility to rescue a handful of captives. We lost ships and lives to save people who had no strategic value. That doesn't make sense to other species. They see it as either brave or insane." A new voice spoke from the doorway. "They see it as dangerous." Everyone turned. A man in diplomatic clothing entered. He was older, with gray hair and tired eyes. "This is Ambassador Kyung-soo," Admiral Tae-yang introduced him. "He's our representative to the Galactic Council." "We have a representative to the Galactic Council?" Hyun-woo was surprised. "I thought we were in hiding." "We were. But after the raid on Karvazoth, hiding is no longer an option. The Velcrans have filed a formal complaint with the Council. They're demanding we surrender and disarm. They're threatening sanctions against any species that helps us." "What does the Council say?" "The Council is divided. Some species sympathize with our cause. They've heard the evidence of Velcron slavery. They understand we were defending our people. Others fear that our return means war. They want us to disappear again. Ambassador Kyung-soo sat at the table. He looked exhausted. I spent the last 2 days in council chambers, arguing, negotiating, showing them evidence of what the Velkrans did to Earth, to our colonies, to our people. Some listened. Many did not. In the end, they voted to remain neutral. Neutral. Tae-yang repeated the word with bitter emphasis, which means they won't help us, but they won't stop us either. It's the best we could hope for. At least they're not siding with the Velkrans. Ji-won spoke up hesitantly. What happens now? Admiral Tae-yang looked at her. Now we prepare, we plan. We rescue as many humans as we can, and we show the galaxy that humanity is not extinct. We're here. We're strong. And we're not going anywhere. Over the following days, the rescued captives adjusted to life aboard the fleet. They met other survivors who had been rescued over the years. They heard stories of the fall of Earth, of colonies destroyed, of families torn apart. Captain Hyunwoo volunteered to help train new crews. He wasn't a military man, but he knew ships and he knew how to survive. His experience was valuable. Ji-won spent her time in the communications center, working with Dr. Yuna. She helped set up new monitoring systems to detect distress signals. She wanted to make sure that if any other humans called for help, someone would hear them. 1 week after their rescue, the fleet arrived at Haven. As they approached the massive asteroid base, Ji-won stood at the window and watched in awe. The entire inside of the asteroid had been hollowed out and transformed into a city. Lights twinkled everywhere. Ships moved in and out of docking bays. It looked alive. "This is home," Subin said, standing beside her. "This is what we've built in 20 years. This is what we're fighting to protect." The rescued captives were brought down to the surface. Crowds gathered to welcome them. Families who had lost loved ones 20 years ago hoped to see familiar faces. Medical teams stood ready to help those who needed care. Captain Hyunwoo walked through the crowd and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real, genuine hope. That night, there was a memorial service for Commander Dong-hyun and the other soldiers who had died during the rescue. Admiral Tae-yang spoke to the gathered crowd. "We lost 14 good people during the mission. They gave their lives so others could be free. We will remember them. We will honor them. And we will continue their work." He paused and looked at the rescued captives standing in the front row. "To those we rescued, welcome home. You are safe now. You are among family. Rest, recover, and when you're ready, if you choose to, join us. Help us bring more people home." Ji-won stepped forward. Her voice shook as she spoke. "I want to say something. To everyone here, 3 weeks ago I was a captive. I had given up hope. I thought humanity was finished. But then I activated a beacon, one desperate signal into the darkness. I didn't think anyone would hear it. But you did. You came for us. You risked everything to save people you'd never met. That's what makes us human, not our technology or our ships or our weapons, our humanity, our refusal to abandon each other. Thank you for proving that humanity still exists. Thank you for coming back for us." The crowd erupted in applause. People were crying. Ji-won saw Admiral Tae-yang nod to her with respect. In the command center, late that night, the Admiral sat with his senior staff. They reviewed intelligence reports on other potential rescue targets. "Here," Commander Subin pointed to a location on the star map. "This mining station has an estimated 40 human workers. Security is moderate. We could plan an operation within 2 weeks. And here," added Captain Minji, "a research facility with possible human subjects. Harder target, but doable." Admiral Tae-yang studied the map. So many locations, so many people waiting for rescue. It would take years to free them all. Some would die before they could be reached. Some locations would be too heavily defended, but they would try. They would save as many as they could. "Prepare plans for both targets," he ordered. "We'll evaluate which one to hit first. In the meantime, I want expanded intelligence gathering on all suspected human captivity sites. The more we know, the more people we can save." He stood and walked to the window. Haven spread out below him, peaceful and bright. Somewhere out there in the darkness between the stars, humans were waiting. Hoping. Maybe dying. But not for much longer. The Admiral activated the long-range communication system. He prepared a message to be broadcast on all frequencies that humans might still monitor. Emergency channels. Military codes. Commercial frequencies everywhere. Part 4. No one left behind. Admiral Tai Yang stood on the bridge of the Soul's Fury and watched the battle unfold. His fleet had dropped out of hyperspace 3 minutes ago. The Velcrans were scrambling to respond, but they were too slow. Humanity had learned to strike fast. All fighters engaged defensive positions. Commander Donghyun's voice crackled over the command channel. Protect the extraction shuttles. Nothing gets through. 20 human fighters swarmed around the auction station like angry insects. Their weapons were inferior to Velcran technology, but their pilots were better. Every pilot in the remnant fleet had trained their entire lives for this moment. They flew with a desperation that no alien could match. Admiral, we're detecting multiple Velcran warships jumping into the system, reported the sensor officer. Count as 8 destroyers, 3 cruisers. Time until they arrive? 4 minutes, sir. Taeyang checked the tactical display. The extraction teams were still inside the station. They needed more time, but time was the one thing they didn't have. All capital ships target the station's weapon platforms. I want them disabled, not destroyed. We need to keep the structure intact long enough for our people to get out. The human warships opened fire. Missiles and energy weapons struck the station's defenses with surgical precision. One by one, the Velcran gun emplacements went dark. But the station was huge, with hundreds of defensive positions. They couldn't get them all. This is Extraction Team 3, a voice called over the emergency channel. We're pinned down in Section 12. Heavy resistance, multiple casualties. Donghyun checked his display. I see them. I'm going in. Commander negative, Taeyang ordered. Your fighters are needed for fleet defense. With respect, Admiral, our people are dying. I'm going in. Before Taeyang could respond, Donghyun's fighter broke formation and dove toward the station. 3 other fighters followed him. They crashed through an observation window and disappeared inside the structure. The Admiral closed his eyes briefly. Good soldiers. Brave soldiers. He hoped they would survive. Admiral, Extraction Team 1 has secured their package, reported the communications officer. 37 humans recovered. All teams are moving to extraction points. Velcran reinforcements arriving in 90 seconds, called the sensor officer. Too close. The timing was too close. All ships prepared to cover the extraction shuttles. The moment they clear the station, we jump to hyperspace, no delays. No exceptions. Captain Minji of the Gwangju spoke up from her ship. Admiral, Commander Donghyun's team is still inside the station. I know. They knew the risks. Deep inside Karvazoth Station, Commander Donghyun and his 3 pilots fought through narrow corridors. They had abandoned their fighters and were moving on foot, using plasma rifles taken from dead Velcran guards. Team 3, this is Donghyun. What's your position? Section 12, Corridor 9. We have hostile forces blocking our exit. 8 humans recovered, but 2 of our operatives are down. Hold position. We're coming to you. They ran through the maze of corridors. The station was in chaos. Fires burned in multiple sections. Alien civilians fled in panic. Velcran security forces were everywhere trying to restore order. Donghyun's team rounded a corner and came face to face with 6 Velcran guards. Both sides opened fire instantly. The commander took down 2 before diving behind cover. His pilots eliminated the others. Keep moving. They found Team 3 trapped behind makeshift barricades. The rescued humans huddled behind them, terrified. 2 human soldiers lay dead on the floor. 6 others held off a squad of Velcrans at the end of the corridor. Reinforcements, shouted Team 3's leader when she saw Donghyun. Fall back. Everyone move. They grabbed the rescued humans and ran. The Velcrans pursued, firing plasma bolts that scorched the walls. One of Donghyun's pilots took a hit and went down. The commander grabbed the wounded man and dragged him along. This is command to all extraction teams. Velcran fleet has arrived. You have 60 seconds to reach your shuttles. 60 seconds. They were at least 2 minutes from the docking bay. Leave me, gasped the wounded pilot. You can't carry me and make it in time. Not happening, Donghyun said through gritted teeth. We don't leave people behind. That's the point of this whole mission. They burst into the docking bay just as the last shuttle was preparing to launch. Subin's team was already aboard, providing covering fire. Get them in, Subin shouted. They threw themselves into the shuttle. The doors sealed. The craft launched with violent acceleration. Outside, the Velcran fleet had arrived. 11 warships, each one larger than the biggest human vessel. They opened fire immediately. All ships evasive maneuvers, Admiral Taeyang ordered calmly. Jump on my mark. The human fleet scattered. The Soul's Fury took a direct hit to its port side. Alarms blared. The ship shuddered but held together. Damage report. Hull breach on deck 7. Casualties unknown. Shields at 40%. Captain Daejung's cruiser Incheon wheeled around and fired a full missile spread at the nearest Velcran destroyer. The alien ship's shields flickered but held. It returned fire, scoring multiple hits. The Incheon lost power to its engines and began to drift. "This is the Incheon." Daejung's voice was steady despite the chaos. "We're dead in the water. Engines are gone. Admiral, leave us. Get those people home. Negative, Incheon. Stand by for towing. Sir, there's no time. The Velcrans will destroy us all if you wait." Taeyang made the hardest decision of his life. All ships except Gwangju jumped to hyperspace immediately. Gwangju, tow the Incheon and jump in 30 seconds. "Admiral, the Gwangju can't hold off the Velcran fleet alone," Captain Minji protested. "I'm aware. Do it anyway." The human ships began jumping away. One by one, they vanished in flashes of light. The rescued humans were aboard. The mission was technically successful, but 2 ships remained. The Gwangju attached a towing cable to the disabled Incheon and began pulling it away from the battle. The Velcran fleet pursued, firing everything they had. "Shields failing," reported Minji. "I don't think we're going to make it, sir." Then, from nowhere, Commander Donghyun's fighter squadron appeared. All 20 fighters, moving in perfect formation, placed themselves between the fleeing ships and the Velcran fleet. "Admiral, this is Donghyun. We'll buy you the time you need. Tell my family I'm sorry I won't be home for dinner. Commander, fall back. That's an order." "With respect, Admiral, there's no time to argue. Gwangju Incheon, jump now." The fighters attacked. 20 small craft against 11 warships. It was suicide. They knew it. They did it anyway. Donghyun's fighter was the first to die, hit by 3 plasma bolts simultaneously. It exploded in a ball of fire. Others followed. They rammed damaged fighters into Velcran ships. They fired until their weapons ran dry, then used their ships as missiles. But they bought 30 seconds. The Gwangju and Incheon jumped to hyperspace. The remaining fighters followed, those that could. Of the 20 that had provided cover, only 6 survived. Aboard the Soul's Fury, now safely in hyperspace, Admiral Taeyang stood at the window and watched the stars. 14 fighters lost. Commander Donghyun dead. The Incheon heavily damaged. Casualties numbered in the dozens. But they had saved 37 humans. 37 souls who would have died as slaves. 37 people who would now see freedom. The rescued captives were being treated in the medical bay. Captain Hyunwoo and his crew were reunited. Jiwon was receiving treatment for malnutrition. Others were being cared for by doctors who wept as they examined them. Major Subin found the Admiral on the bridge. Her shoulder was bandaged where she had been shot. "Mission report, Major." "All objectives achieved, sir." 37 humans recovered. 0 captives lost. But we paid a heavy price. "War always has a price," Taeyang said quietly. Commander Donghyun understood that. He died so others could live. That's what humanity does. "We sacrifice for each other." Subin saluted. "Sir, permission to speak freely?" "Granted. This changes everything. The Velcrans know we exist now. They know we're organized, armed, and willing to fight. They'll come looking for us, I know. Let them come. We've been hiding for 20 years. Maybe it's time we stopped hiding." The Admiral turned to face his crew. Every man and woman on the bridge looked exhausted. They had just fought their first real battle in 2 decades. Some of them had lost friends today. "I know you're tired," Taeyang said. "I know you're scared. I know some of you think we shouldn't have risked everything for one ship's crew. But you're wrong. We didn't risk everything for one crew. We proved something today. We proved that humanity still exists. We proved that we still remember who we are. We protect our own, always, no matter the cost." He activated the ship-wide communication system. "This is Admiral Taeyang to all hands. Today, humanity returned to the galaxy. We saved 37 of our people from slavery. We lost good men and women doing it. But we would do it again, because that's who we are. The Velcrans thought they destroyed us. They were wrong. Humanity endures. Humanity fights back, and humanity never ever abandons its own." In the medical bay, Captain Hyunwoo held Jiwon's hand as she slept. Around them, other rescued humans were recovering. Some cried, some slept, some just stared in wonder at being free. They had been saved, and humanity had come back for them all. Part 3: The Auction of Shadows. The auction station Karvazoth was a nightmare made of metal and greed. It stretched for kilometers in every direction, a massive structure where thousands of beings were bought and sold every day. Captain Hyunwoo stood in a transparent containment field and watched the crowds below. Aliens of every species moved through the marketplace. Some walked on 2 legs, some on 4, some floated, some crawled. They came here to buy workers, soldiers, servants, or specimens. They came here to purchase living beings as if they were objects. Hyunwoo's crew had been separated. He didn't know where the others were. The Velcrans had processed them all individually, scanning them, measuring them, cataloging their skills and health. Now they waited in display areas like merchandise in a shop window. Ji-won stood in the next containment field. She hadn't spoken in 2 days. Her eyes were empty. The beacon had done nothing. No one had answered. No one had come. Lot 47, announced a Velcran auctioneer through a translation device. Human female. Age 23. Communication specialist, healthy. Starting bid 5,000 credits. Hyunwoo watched in horror as alien buyers examined Ji-won like she was a piece of equipment. Some made offers. Some just stared. The bidding went quickly. Within 3 minutes, she was sold to a tall insectoid creature for 12,000 credits. The containment field around Ji-won deactivated. Guards grabbed her arms and dragged her away. She didn't fight. She didn't even look back. One by one, the crew was auctioned. The engineer Bong-soo went for 15,000 to a mining consortium. Medical officer Hae-won was purchased by a research facility. Others followed. Each time, Hyunwoo felt a piece of his soul die. But something was happening in the crowd. Something strange. A group of aliens moved through the marketplace with purpose. They wore common trader clothes, but they moved like soldiers. There were 4 of them, and they were carefully watching the human auctions. One of them looked up at Hyunwoo. For just a moment, their eyes met. The alien had a strange face covered in what looked like artificial skin, but something about the eyes was familiar. Human eyes. Hyunwoo's heart stopped. It was impossible. But he had seen what he saw. The group moved on, disappearing into the crowd. The captain wondered if he had imagined it. Maybe captivity was making him see things that weren't there. Lot 53, human male, age 39, ship captain, command experience, starting bid 8,000 credits. The containment field around Hyunwoo deactivated. Guards moved forward. The auction for him was beginning. But before the first bid could be placed, the lights went out. The entire station plunged into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in a red glow. Alarms began wailing. The crowd of buyers panicked, pushing and shoving in confusion. The guards holding Hyunwoo released him and ran toward their positions. In the chaos, someone grabbed the captain's arm and pulled him into the shadows. "Come with me if you want to live," said a voice in perfect Korean. Hyunwoo spun around. The figure wore the artificial face covering, but now it was cracked, revealing human skin underneath. A woman, maybe 30 years old, with sharp eyes and a plasma rifle strapped to her back. "Who are you?" "Major Subin, Human Remnant Fleet. We received your distress signal. We're here to extract all human captives. Stay close and do exactly what I say." The captain couldn't process the words. Human Remnant Fleet? There was a fleet? They had come? Where's my crew? Being recovered by other teams. We've mapped the location of every human on this station. 37 total. We're getting all of them. Subin pulled a device from her belt and pressed it against Hyunwoo's wrist. A small bracelet formed around his arm, glowing with a blue light. Tracker, so we don't lose you in the chaos. Now move. They ran through the marketplace. The station shook as explosions echoed from somewhere above. Through the windows, Hyunwoo could see flashes of light. Ships were fighting outside. Human ships. Subin led him through a service corridor. 2 other figures in disguise joined them, both carrying rescued humans. One of them was Ji-won. She looked stunned, like she couldn't believe what was happening. "Captain," she breathed when she saw him. "I told you to survive," Hyunwoo said, pulling her into a brief embrace. "Someone heard your signal." More explosions rocked the station. Velcran security forces rushed past, heading toward the battle. Subin's team moved in the opposite direction, deeper into the station's lower levels. "We have 37 confirmed humans," Subin said into her communicator. "Extraction teams, report status," voices crackled back. "Team 2 has recovered 6. Moving to Extraction Point Alpha. Team 3 has 8. We're pinned down in Section 12. Team 4 has recovered 11 but lost 2 operatives. requesting backup. Subin cursed and adjusted their route. They reached a large holding area where the Velcrons kept bulk cargo. Dozens of containers lined the walls. Some held supplies. Others held more prisoners. Check every container, Subin ordered her team. Command said there might be humans who've been here for years. They moved quickly, breaking electronic locks and forcing open doors. Most containers were empty or held non-human prisoners, but in the back corner they found something else, a container with 12 humans inside. They were thin, dirty, and looked half dead. Some were too weak to walk. One of them, an older man, looked up with hollow eyes. "Are you real?" he whispered. "We're real," Subin said. "We're human military." "We're taking you home," the man began to cry. Others in the container stirred, unable to believe what they were hearing. Some had been captive for over a decade. They had given up hope years ago. Subin's team distributed water and emergency rations. They gave the weakest captives stimulant injections to help them move. Every minute counted. "All teams, this is command," said a voice over the communicators. "Velcran reinforcements are arriving. We have maybe 10 minutes before this gets really bad. All extraction teams, get to your shuttles now." Subin marked their position on her tactical map. "We're too far from the primary extraction point. We need to use emergency route Gamma." Her team moved the rescued humans through the station. Hyunwoo helped carry one of the weaker captives, a young woman who could barely stand. Ji-won supported another. They reached a docking bay on the station's outer ring. 3 human shuttles waited there, their engines already running. Pilots waved them forward urgently. "Load up, quick!" They pushed the rescued humans into the shuttles. Subin counted heads, making sure everyone was accounted for. 37 humans. All recovered, all alive. But as the last shuttle prepared to depart, a Velcran security team burst into the docking bay. 20 armed guards, all with plasma weapons raised. "Human scum," their leader hissed through a translator. "You will not escape." Subin's team formed a defensive line between the Velcrons and the shuttles. The major raised her rifle. "Get them out of here," she ordered the pilots. "We'll hold the line." "Major, you can't," Hyunwoo protested. "You'll be killed. That's not your concern, Captain. Your job is to survive. Now get on that shuttle." The Velcrans opened fire. Plasma bolts filled the air. Subin's team returned fire, their weapons cutting down several guards. But more Velcrans were coming. One of Subin's soldiers fell, hit in the chest. Another took a shot to the leg and went down. The major herself took a grazing hit to her shoulder but kept fighting. "For humanity," she shouted. Suddenly, the wall behind the Velcrans exploded. A human combat drone smashed through, its heavy weapons blazing. The Velcrans scattered, diving for cover. "Extraction teams, you have 30 seconds, said the voice from command. "The fleet is pulling back. Move now or get left behind." Subin ran for the shuttle, dragging her wounded soldiers. Everyone piled in. The doors sealed. The shuttles launched just as more Velcrons poured into the docking bay. Through the shuttle windows, Hyunwoo watched the battle outside. Human warships fought against Velcron defenders. Fighters swarmed in deadly patterns. Explosions lit up space. But the human ships were pulling back, jumping away one by one. They had what they came for. Ji-won sat next to the captain, holding his hand. Tears streamed down her face. "They came," she whispered. "They actually came." "I know," Hyunwoo said, his own voice breaking. "Humanity came back." The last shuttle docked with the flagship Seoul's Fury. As it jumped into hyperspace, leaving Karvazoth burning behind them, the rescued humans sat in stunned silence. They were free. They were going home. Wherever home was now. Part 2, the ghost signal doctor. Yuna stared at her computer screen and didn't believe what she was seeing. The numbers were there. The waveform patterns were clear, but it was impossible. She had been monitoring deep space frequencies for 12 hours straight. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. The remnant fleet depended on early warning systems. If any alien ships came too close to their hidden base, they needed to know. But this signal was different. It wasn't alien. It was human. "Commander Dong-hyun," she said into her headset, trying to keep her voice steady. "You need to come to the communications center. Right now." Within 3 minutes, the commander arrived. He was a tall man with gray hair and old scars on his face. He had been fighting since he was 16, since the day the Velcrons destroyed his colony. "What is it, Doctor?" Yuna replayed the signal. It lasted only 2 seconds. A burst transmission, weak and degraded by distance, but the encryption was unmistakable. That's military code, Dong-hyun said slowly. Old Earth Defense Force protocol. Nobody's used that in 20 years, I know. I've checked it 6 times. It's real. It's human. And it was sent 3 days ago from somewhere in the outer reaches. The commander leaned forward. His hands gripped the edge of the console. Can you trace it? Already did. Origin point is near the Velcran trade routes. The signal is a distress code. Someone activated an emergency beacon. Dong-hyun straightened up. His face had gone very pale. We need to tell the Admiral now. Admiral Tae-yang was in the command center when they found him. He stood before a large holographic display showing the positions of the remnant fleet. 15 capital ships, 300 smaller vessels, 20,000 people, the last free humans in the galaxy. They had been hiding here for 2 decades, in a region of space called the Outer Dark. It was a dead zone, full of radiation and asteroid fields. No aliens came here. It was perfect for staying hidden while they rebuilt. Admiral, Dong-hyun said. We have a situation. Tae-young turned. He was 58 years old. His hair was white. He had been a junior officer when Earth fell. Now he commanded what remained of humanity's military. Yuna explained the signal. The Admiral listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Show me, he finally said. They went to the communications center. Yuna played the recording again. The Admiral closed his eyes and listened to the ancient code. When it finished, he opened them. Someone's alive out there, he said. Someone remembered the old protocols. It could be a trap, Dong-hyun warned. The Velcrans could have captured someone and forced them to send it. Possible, but unlikely. The Velcrans don't understand human encryption. They wouldn't know how to fake this. Tae-young turned to Yuna. Can you determine how many people sent this? No, sir, it's a single beacon burst. Could be 1 person. Could be 100. No way to know. The Admiral walked to the window. Outside, in the massive asteroid they had hollowed out and named Haven, lights twinkled. Factories, living quarters, schools. A whole civilization built in secret. Children who had never seen Earth. Families hoping for a future. Call the senior staff, Tae-young said. Full briefing in 1 hour. The meeting room filled quickly. Ship captains, intelligence officers, civilian leaders. Everyone who made decisions for the remnant fleet. They all heard the recording. They all understood what it meant. We have confirmation of human survivors in Velcran space, Admiral Tae-yang began. Possibly captives. Possibly being transported to slave auctions. We have a chance to extract them. A chance? Captain Minji of the destroyer Gwangju spoke up. Admiral, with respect, we have no intelligence on Velcran positions. We don't know how many captives there are. We don't even know if they're still alive. All true, Tae-yang agreed. But we know where that signal came from. We can search that region. Commander Dong-hyun pulled up a star map. The signal originated here along the main Velcran trade route. There are 3 possible destinations from that point. 2 mining stations and 1 auction hub called Karvazoth. How defended? Asked Captain Daejung of the cruiser Incheon. Unknown. We've never attacked Velcran holdings before. We've been in hiding. A woman in civilian clothes stood up. Her name was Hee-young, and she led the civilian council. Admiral, I understand the desire to save our people. But if we attack the Velcrans, they'll know we exist. They'll hunt for us. Everything we've built here could be destroyed. She's right, said Captain Minji. We're not ready for open war. We have 15 capital ships. The Velcrans have thousands. We might never be ready, Tae-yang said quietly. We've been preparing for 20 years. Building ships. Training soldiers. Waiting for the right moment. But what are we waiting for? What's the point of surviving if we abandon our own people? The room went silent. Before Earth fell, the Admiral continued, humanity made a promise. We had a code. No soldier left behind. No citizen abandoned. We failed that promise once. I watched planets burn because we couldn't save them. I've lived with that failure every day for 20 years. I won't fail again. This isn't about 1 ship, Commander Dong-hyun added. If there are humans on Velcran auction stations, there might be dozens. Hundreds. People who've been waiting for rescue for years. Captain Daejung spoke up. What's your plan, Admiral? Tae-yang turned to the star map. We send a strike force. Small, fast, surgical. We locate the captives. We extract them. We leave before the Velcrans can organize a response. And if we can't extract them all, then we die trying, the Admiral said simply. Because that's what humans do. We don't leave our people behind, he young stood again. Admiral, I represent 15,000 civilians, families, children. If this goes wrong, the Velcrans will find us. What happens to them? If this goes wrong, we'll lead the Velcrans away from Haven. We'll sacrifice the strike force to protect the base. But it won't go wrong, because we're going to plan this perfectly. The debate continued for 3 hours. In the end, the vote was close. 8 in favor, 7 against. But it was enough. The mission was approved. Over the next week, the remnant fleet prepared. They gathered intelligence using long-range scouts. They identified Karvazoth as the most likely destination for captives. They selected their best ships and their most experienced crews. Commander Dong Hyun would lead the fighter squadrons. A special forces team under Major Subin would handle infiltration. Admiral Taeyang would command the operation from his flagship, the Soul's Fury. On the night before departure, Yuna worked late in the communications center. She had been analyzing the distress signal, trying to extract any additional information. She found something. The signal had a source identifier. Embedded in the code was a name, Mugunghwa. A merchant vessel registered out of New Busan, a colony that had been destroyed 15 years ago. Somehow that ship had survived. Somehow someone aboard still had an emergency beacon. Yuna sent the information to the Admiral. He replied immediately. Now we have a name. Now we have a target. We're bringing the Mugunghwa crew home, and anyone else we find. The strike force departed 2 days later. 5 warships, 20 fighters, 200 crew members. It was a tiny force compared to the Velcran military, but it was enough. As they jumped into hyperspace, Admiral Taeyang made a private recording. He knew he might not come back. If he died, he wanted people to know why. This is Admiral Taeyang of the human remnant fleet. 20 years ago, we lost Earth. We lost billions of people. The survivors scattered and hid. But we never forgot who we were. We are human beings. We protect our own. We fight for our own. And we never ever abandon our own. To whoever finds this recording, we went to save one crew. But we'll save them all. Every human in Velcran hands. Every captive in every station. We're coming for all of them. Because that's what humanity does. We endure, we survive. And we come back for each other. He stopped the recording and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humans were waiting, hoping, maybe dying, but not for much longer. Humanity was coming. Part 1. The last cargo, the cargo ship Mugunghwa, drifted through empty space like a wounded animal. Smoke filled the corridors. Half the lights were dead. Captain Hyunwoo stood on the bridge and watched his ship die around him. They had been hauling medical supplies to the mining colonies when the Velcrans found them. The insect-like aliens came out of nowhere, their ships black and silent. They didn't ask questions. They didn't give warnings. They just attacked. Hyunwoo remembered the explosions. He remembered his crew screaming. He remembered watching his weapons officer die when the console exploded in front of her. How 6 hours later the Velcrans were boarding his ship. "Captain, they're cutting through the cargo bay doors," said Ji-won from the communication station. She was young, barely 23. This was her first voyage beyond Earth's colonies. Her hands shook as she spoke. "How many crew do we have left?" Hyunwoo asked. He already knew the answer. He had counted the bodies himself. 15, sir. Including us, 15 out of 40. The captain closed his eyes. 25 of his people were dead. The others were hiding in various parts of the ship, waiting for the inevitable. The sound of metal tearing echoed through the walls. The Velcrans were inside. "Everyone listen to me," Hyunwoo said into the ship-wide channel. "Don't fight them. Stay calm, do what they say. We might survive this." But he didn't believe his own words. Everyone knew what the Velcrans did. They were slavers. They captured beings from weaker species and sold them across the galaxy. Humans were rare these days. That made them valuable. That made them targets. 20 years ago, Earth had gone silent. The Velcrans had attacked human colonies across 3 star systems. Ships stopped coming. Messages stopped arriving. The few survivors scattered to the edges of known space, trying to hide, trying to survive. Hyunwoo's parents had been on Earth when it happened. He never found out what happened to them. The bridge doors exploded inward. 3 Velcrans pushed through the smoke. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, their bodies covered in black chitinous armor. 4 arms, each ending in sharp claws. Their heads looked like enormous beetles with mandibles that clicked together when they spoke. One of them pointed at Hyunwoo and Jiwon. It made a sound like grinding metal. A translator device on its chest turned the noise into words. Humans. Valuable. You come with us. 2 more Velcrans entered and grabbed them. Their grip was iron strong. Hyunwoo didn't resist. He looked at Jiwon and shook his head slightly. Don't fight. Not yet. They were dragged through the corridors of their own ship. The Velcrans had rounded up the other survivors. Engineers, medical staff, cargo handlers. All of them looked terrified. Some were injured. All of them were defeated. The Velcrans forced them through the cargo bay and onto their own ship. The Velcran vessel was massive, built like a hive. The walls were organic-looking, covered in a strange resin. The air smelled like chemicals in decay. They were pushed into a large holding area. Cages lined the walls. Some already contained prisoners from other species, small furry creatures that whimpered in the corner, tall thin beings with too many joints. And in the far cage, Hyunwoo saw 2 other humans, a man and a woman, both looking thin and broken. How long have you been here? Hyunwoo called out to them. The man looked up. His eyes were empty. 4 months. They caught our research station near the border nebula. Killed most of us. Kept 12. Now there's just 2. 4 months in Velcran hands. Hyunwoo felt his stomach turn. The Velcrans pushed Hyunwoo's crew into empty cages. 3 or 4 people per cage. The doors locked with a sound like breaking bones. Jiwon ended up in the same cage as the captain, along with their navigator Bongsu and medical officer Haiwan. What happens now? Bongsu asked. He was old, nearly 50. He had survived the fall of Earth. He had seen horrors before. They take us to an auction station, said the human from the other cage. They sell us. I've seen it happen to others. The strong ones go to labor camps. The smart ones go to research facilities. The rest? He didn't finish. Jiwon sat in the corner of the cage, her arms wrapped around her knees. She looked like she was going to be sick. Hyunwoo moved closer to her. Hey, look at me. We're going to survive this. How? Her voice was barely a whisper. We're finished. There's no one coming for us. Humanity is scattered. We have no fleet, no military, no government. We're alone. The captain wanted to argue. He wanted to tell her she was wrong, but he couldn't, because she was right. The Velcran ship jumped into hyperspace. The holding area shuddered. They were moving toward the auction stations, toward slavery, toward a future that didn't include freedom. Days passed. The Velcrans fed them once per day, some kind of nutrient paste that tasted like metal. They were allowed to use a waste facility once every 12 hours. Some of the crew got sick. Haiwan did what she could, but she had no medical supplies. Jiwon grew quieter each day. She stopped talking, stopped eating much. Hyunwoo watched her fade and felt helpless. On the 5th day, she suddenly moved. She pulled something small from inside her boot. A signal beacon no bigger than her thumb. It must have survived the attack somehow. What are you doing? Hyunwoo whispered. Sending a message, she said. Her hands worked quickly, programming the device. Old human military code. Distress frequency. If there's anyone out there, any human ships at all, maybe they'll hear it. The Velcrans will detect it. Maybe. But what else can we do? Just wait to be sold? Hyunwoo looked at the small device. It was a desperate gesture. Futile. The chances of any human ship being close enough to receive it were nearly 0. The chances of them being strong enough to help were even smaller. But it was something. It was hope, however small. Do it, he said. Jiwon activated the beacon. It pulsed once, twice, then went dark as its limited power was spent in one burst transmission. The signal shot out into space, traveling at the speed of light, calling into the void. The Velcran ship continued its journey. The prisoners sat in their cages. Nobody came. Nothing changed. After 3 more days, the ship dropped out of hyperspace. Through the small window in the holding area, Hyunwoo could see a massive structure, the auction station. It looked like a twisted metal flower, kilometers across, with ships docking at dozens of pedals. The Velcrans began removing prisoners from their cages. Starting with the other species first, then they came for the humans. Stand up, move, you are being processed. They were lined up in single file and marched through the ship. Jiwon walked behind Hyunwoo. He could hear her breathing, fast and panicked. Remember, he said quietly, survive. That's all that matters. Survive. But as they stepped onto the auction station and saw the massive crowds of alien buyers examining slaves like merchandise, Hyunwoo felt his own hope dying. Jiwon's beacon had disappeared into the darkness of space. Silent, unheard, unanswered, they were alone.